Hey friend, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here listening to another episode of the Pattern Design Circle podcast. Here we talk all about the ins and outs of designing knit and crochet patterns and running a business that makes it all possible. I'm Jessica, your host, knitting pattern designer, design mentor, and the friend in your ear. Can't wait to dive right in. The Pattern Design Circle podcast is sponsored by the Pattern Design Circle, a membership community for knit and crochet pattern designers that are feeling lost, lonely, or frustrated in their business. It connects you with a supportive community that's always eager to answer your questions and help you through the hard times. And there's loads of resources and activities specifically catered to business and designing. Sound like your jam? Check it out at snickerdoodleknits.com/design-circle. That's snickerdoodle, like the cookie, knits, knits.com/design-circle. All right, let's get into it. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Pattern Design Circle podcast. I am so excited to be here with another guest. This week we have Jessica of Double the Stitches with us, and we'll get into in a bit. She's hosting a summit that's happening next week, February 15th is the start date, 2024. But before that, I want to talk all about your business, Jessica, kind of how you've built it. We want to talk a bit about community, the importance of community, and even building community as an introvert. So you want to go ahead and share a little bit about yourself and then kind of how Double the Stitches started.
Sure. So my name is Jessica. The brand is Double the Stitches. And like so many of us who have eventually gotten into, designing our own patterns and all of that, I was always creative. I like to tell the story when I was a little girl. I wanted to make clothes for my dolls. My mom was not like big into sewing or anything. This was the 70s. She gave me a stapler. She didn't trust me with a needle and thread. So I stapled doll clothes together. And so we've grown quite a bit since that. And then, that typical journey, I think that a lot of us have where we're making and we love making, and everyone says, oh, you should sell what you make. And then you get burnt out selling what you make. So I was creating props for newborn photographers, which was awesome because I got the most beautiful pictures of the most adorable babies wearing things that I made. And so what is, more heartwarming than that? But babies come when they're ready, when they want. And so working out, timetables and schedules and stuff, where maybe the photographer said, oh, I need, this, that, and the other thing. And we need it in, 4 months or whatever. Okay, perfect, fine. And then I get, the frantic email, the baby's here, the baby's here. The session's in a week and they don't live locally. So now I also, besides having to stay up till the wee hours to knit the thing, also have to deal with the post office. And they are not always, they don't always deliver when promised. So just the stress of that. I was working in my local yarn store at the time and then coming home and knitting, until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And it just got to be too much. It just was too much. And so it was January of 2020, not knowing what was going to happen in March. And I distinctly remember it was New Year's Eve and I was at, a friend's house and we were selling. And I just said, you know what? I can't do this anymore. Like there has to be a different way. And so I got into designing patterns. I think it was Selena Baca, who's a crochet designer, had a course for, how to design and publish patterns. And so that was because I needed a community, because I needed guidance, because we don't know what we don't know. There's so much out there. And so that was kind of my entry into having a community around me of people who are doing, what I do, which is wonderful that, your membership does that too. And so then I went on from there. And then I really found that I loved designing knitwear more than crochet. And I found Francoise Zanoy of Aroha Knits in her program. And so I've, gone through all the steps. But as knitters or crocheters, we need support. And I think also as businesses, we need support and we need guidance. And we need someone to say, hey, how do you do this thing? How does this work? And so that's kind of where it is. And I'll just tell the short story of the name Double the Stitches is
Yes.
named after my twins. One, very, very sleepless night, probably after many sleepless nights. Um, things where I was walking my son, down from the living room to, his bedroom to put him down for the nap. And we were sleep training and I said, I'm your mommy and I am the boss of you. You are not the boss of me. And it is nap time when I say it's nap time. And I just had it. And so that was, that frame of mind that a lot of us moms, get into with very strong-willed, we'll say strong-willed children. um, but so the name came from realizing that if I ever wanted to make them handmade things, I was going to need to double the stitches. And so people say, oh, is that double knitting? So it's not double knitting. It's just I need to make 2 times as many things.
Yes, yes. I love that so much. Alrighty, so there's so much we could dive into about
Unpack, right?
but let's go ahead and talk then about how you went from designing to building a community. And I think it's really interesting to talk about community in our industry because it seems like it is such a big thing. Like knitting community, especially online, it's a huge topic and people love to talk about the knitting community or the crochet community. Um, but then it's very interesting because when we're new to the online community or we're not even aware of the online community, it can feel really isolating and alone. And so we want to find community. And then it's interesting once you kind of really dive headfirst into the community that there's a million different communities you can be a part of.
Yeah.
So let's talk about like what your community specifically does for knitters and then like how do you reach the people you're trying to reach?
Okay. So, as you kind of touched on briefly, being an introvert, entirely, that is, just like you look it up in the dictionary and like my picture's there, like that's me. Um, and knitting goes, I think along with that a lot, but it got to a point where, I was pushing so hard and um posting in all the big gigantic Facebook groups that we all do as designers on, self promote Saturday, and your whole Saturday gets taken up by like what groups can I post in today. And so I wanted to have a place where people knew me, where people knew my designs, where people, I could support them if they had a question. I was, doing the big public, the Facebook page, the Instagram, all of that, and even the email list, which is crazy important to have, even though that's been giving a lot of us a run for our money these last few days with the new security stuff. But um, I just felt like I was talking into a vacuum. I felt like I would post on social media, maybe I get a couple of likes, maybe a couple of comments. Most of them were from, designer friends, um, kind of faux, like, commenting on each other's stuff to lift each other up, which is a wonderful thing. But I didn't feel like I was reaching the people that were buying from me.
Mhm.
The Instagram and whatever is great for, I find it more connection with fellow designers there than I find with people knitting my things. Um, and so I had this, this Facebook group, and there's so many groups for general knitting, knitting and chatting about knitting, and even just groups about different techniques, like about mosaic knitting or whatever. And I wanted to have a place that was just for me and for my audience. And so I made this group, and it was very slow going. Like I said, I believe a lot in coaching and supporting. And so I found a coach that taught about memberships and Facebook groups and community and having that, heart-led business that I feel like so many of us do, and that community-based business. And so she was running a challenge, and she kind of dared me. I don't know. I like a good competition, but she said, go live in your group. I said, what do you mean? People had only ever seen my hands, like, or maybe a picture that, I took 50 of them to find the one that like I felt comfortable sharing in public, from all the different angles and whatever. to go live in your group. And so I did. And then I went into her group and I posted a picture of me doing that. And I said, I went live in my group and I didn't die. Like that was really how I felt. Like that was the scariest thing I could imagine, was not just a picture of me, like for people to see, but also that live content and my, nerves. I don't think I told anyone I was going to go live. I just kind of did it spur of the moment, because maybe if there was one or two people that happened to be watching because they happened to see it come up, that would be okay. But like, I didn't want a crowd because it was so terrifying. It was just absolutely terrifying. And I was telling Jessica before we came live that, like, being an introvert, it absolutely takes a lot of my energy to do any of these live things, especially video things. Like that Zoom fatigue, it's a real thing. And I always, I schedule in time in my day. Like if I'm going to be live for a specific time, I make sure that like I have time to sit with my yarn and knit after, or like just even lay in bed and like stare at the ceiling, like just in quiet, maybe under the covers.
Yes, yes. I think I've
Just
maybe
rejuvenate.
shared it here on the podcast before, but somebody had shared the idea of like color blocking your schedule. So if like certain things take different energies and some things are going to, kind of give you energy back while others are extremely draining, you can color block your schedule and be like, okay, there's only going to be two red high energy blocks for the whole week. They need to be different ends of the week. And then I need to have some green that is giving me energy again right
Mm-hmm.
after that so that you like make sure you're actually really taking care of yourself. And then maybe you only have 2 weeks you ever do that in a month or whatever. But I loved the idea of I've never done it myself. I learned about it a couple of years ago. I've never done it. But I love the idea of the visual of like, all right, this is where my energy's going. This is how I protect my energy and take care of myself and also meet these goals and the things that I want to do for my community.
And it really has made a difference, because there's a saying in, in business, in small business, I would say, I don't know that it's true about large businesses, the big guys, but the small ones, sometimes people are buying more from a person than they are
Mhm.
the product. Like there might be 50, shawl patterns that have whatever the criteria is, but then they're looking and they spot, oh, I know that name, we've connected on, Facebook or Zoom or whatever, and they're going to pick that one. It
Yeah.
also, by having that community that's dedicated for your design business, it also keeps people coming back, because you can share then with them, what you're doing, and they're more likely to see it.
Yes, yes. So in your community, what do you do?
What do we do? So I have two communities. I have a large free Facebook group. Right now it's around 2,800 members, growing rapidly because of the summit. But and then I have a smaller paid Facebook group with a membership attached to it. So it's not just the Facebook group, it's other things. But so in the big group, it's, knit alongs. I do in the summer, the last 2 summers, I've done a handmade holiday challenge. So that is getting revamped for this year. But just kind of bringing people together. I'm not super fussy about them sharing things from other designers in the group that they're working on, because I want to support them as a knitter. And so if they're really excited about a project, I don't want them to feel like, guarded, like, oh, I can't post it in this group because she said only her things.
Mm.
And so I'll share, whatever is going on, and I go live, every so often. Maybe it would be better to be more on a schedule, but it's kind of, whatever's happening, upcoming events or patterns that I'm working on. And then the membership gets more of me. They get, priority support from me. We have Zooms twice a month. They get patterns from me, and just more of that. Like if I have a list of, people looking for help with something, they're the top of the list, like just automatically, because of being part of the membership.
Yes, I love that. So really both communities, it sounds like, are like support centers that are community driven to just help and encourage folks in their knitting
Yeah,
journeys.
there's so many people, unfortunately, your local yarn stores keep closing
Hmm.
because business is hard and small business is even harder. And there's so many people that don't have that kind of community or support within hours, 2 hours, 4 hours, not even in their state. I mean, it's just not attainable for them to go in person to get help or
Yes.
to have that, sit around a table and knit kind or crochet kind of community that yarn stores have.
And some
Um,
of us introverts would rather go online to a group than go in person to
yeah,
the yarn shop. So,
yes, I like the online stuff. I think there's so many benefits to it, to teaching online workshops and things like that. Because I was trying to explain it, and it kind of relates to the summit too. The way the summit works is that you get a free ticket to access everything that while it's live, and you get 48 hours to watch all the presentations. And then there's an option to buy to get the ongoing access to the presentations and then all of the wonderful bonuses from the speakers and from me. And I was trying to explain to someone, like, if you take a class in person, and whether it's in your yarn shop or at a fiber festival or Rhinebeck or folk knitting or wherever you go, you only have that information while it's happening.
mhm.
When the class is over, it's over. And you can't, reach back out, there's no Q&A session, later that day, or when it's over, it's over. And whatever you retained from that, that's it. You can't
Yes,
watch it, you can't pause it, you can't rewind, you can't slow it down. If the instructor talks slow, you can't speed it up.
exactly. That's what I was just gonna say, the whole, stop and you just barely missed something and you need to go back and find it, and you can't do that in person.
Right. So there's so many benefits to that online learning. And so that's the beauty of the summit is 48 hours, you get it for free. You don't have to pay for it. But if you want to be able to refer back to it, that's also the beauty of having that upgrade. And so, all over social media where I've been posting, people are saying, oh, it doesn't look free because they're brought to a page with an offer. But of course, we're going to give you an offer because we're all trying to do this to, earn something from it, right?
Yeah. We we have to make money in order to be able to keep providing things for the community.
Right.
So,
And that's why patterns,
yeah.
patterns are not free. And if the pattern is free, typically it's free, it's on a blog and there are ads. So the designer is somehow getting income generated from whatever they're doing. And there's no right way or wrong way. Everyone has their own way and whatever path they follow. But it's not just a hobby.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more specifically about the summit. It's called Knit Happy Summit. I actually brought my Jessica sent gifts to us speakers, and I just love them. So for those of you watching the video, you can see I just love them so much. Thank you, Jessica. That's
You're welcome. I
again.
am trying to see if there's a way that I can sell them to attendees, but I don't know. I kind of broke up with Etsy, and
Yes.
so we'll see.
Yeah, they're super cute. But this shows you, anyways, the logo for the summit, which is super cute as well. So there are 22 guest speakers, correct? And it's really covering a large variety of topics. Like there's short rows, there's brioche, there's socks, I'm teaching a class on substituting yarn. I don't remember what your class is.
I'm doing on Sunday, it's going to be a live session workshop on fixing your knitting mistakes.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So
So
just
there's
trying
there's
to support the whole knitter, and not every session might be the for you. Maybe you are an expert sock knitter, so maybe you don't need the custom sock heels and toes that Lauren Wright is teaching. But I think everyone does because um we want the socks to fit, right?
yes.
Just using that, as an example, or maybe, brioche is not your thing. So then, there's 21 other things. And so we're trying to kind of support, you know, picking colors for patterns, working, using your yarn stash. What else? We have southpaw stitching for our left-handed crafters, which I'm excited about. I keep getting messages from people saying I'm so excited because nobody really talks about it.
Yes, I know. I'm wishing I'm like, all right, what are like I know there's been a handful of people who've been like, I'm a left-handed knitter. And I I'm like, oh, I wish I knew who it was and how I could reach them and let
Yeah.
them know. Yeah, but yeah, so as designers listening,
Yeah.
there's something new you want to learn here. That there's such a huge variety of topics that I think there's something new for everyone. But you're also welcome to share with your own audience. If you're like, hey, the knitters in my group, my community, my audience, they would really love this. You can share it as well. And do we have a way for them to sign up as affiliates?
I do. It's knithappy.com/affiliates.
And I'll put that in the description as well. I'll also put the your larger Facebook group link in as well. What's the name of that group?
It's double, so it's facebook.com/group/double the stitches patterns.
Okay, perfect. Anyway, so the summit, the dates are the 15th through the 17th.
Yes, through the 18th. So it's Thursday through Sunday. So the sessions are all pre-recorded, so you can watch them, fit them into your schedule however you want. There will be live Q&A sessions. Those are going to really run from Thursday through Saturday. And then on Sunday is going to be a big free Zoom get together to knit with other knitters, and my class about fixing mistakes and some other fun things. So that'll be Sunday. So Sunday will be pretty quiet, but I also didn't want to overload Sunday because I wanted to give you a chance if there's sessions that you missed from the past 2 days, that you can grab those and watch those.
Absolutely. And the thing with like these summits is there's so much. Like there it's amazing because there's so much, and at the same time there's so much. So really trying to pace yourself and choose what you is most important to listen to is really important
Yeah.
unless you purchase the extended access and then it's not nearly as stressful.
Yes, it definitely is a stress relief. And if anyone had attended the Knit Your Wardrobe Summit, so we had been talking, we both were part of the same program. We knew it was happening. We knew we were both planning knitting summits. And then it turned out they were both going to be in February. And we're like, what do we do? So we spaced them, they're close together, but it's 2 weeks apart. Um, and we kind of, I tried to lean into it and call it Knitting Summit Month.
Yes.
Uh, so it's a whole bunch of education. We didn't really want to go into the spring because as you get into the warmer months, a lot of knitters tend to be, out in their garden or just enjoying the outdoors. So we wanted to catch you before you head outdoors, while it's February, while it's still cold, while you're still, bundled up and have yarn and knitting on the brain. So that's what we dubbed it, was Knitting Summit Month.
Yes, yes. So on our podcast episode with Attens talking about the Knit Your Wardrobe Summit, we kind of talked some of the behind the scenes of just like setting it up. Do we want to talk a little bit about like what happens after the summit, just from the business perspective of, all right, this is what happens with a summit, and this is kind of, you know, the advantage as a business owner for hosting a summit. So what are you doing after the summit with this community now that you're building?
So, still ironing out some of those details as this is the first summit that I'm hosting, so I am a little bit, greener on all of these things. But as of now, my plan is in the membership, in the paid Stitch Society membership, which you get free 30-day trial if you upgrade to the VIP version of the pass. We're going to do a knit along. I didn't want to make it specific to any particular pattern. So we're going to do a double the stitches along. And so any one of my patterns, and I'll help you and support you through it, to, continue building that, that's in the paid membership. And then what happens next in the big group, which now has grown by, quite a bit, and my email list has grown. I'm going to be gearing up for local yarn store day, and that's a great big knit along that I do, local yarn store days the end of April. I do a big, this will be my 5th year, creating something special for to support the yarn stores, because like we talk about community, and so yarn stores for so many of us are, such an essential piece of that. So I like to support. That's kind of my give back, my way to say thank you to the yarn stores that supply us with all the squishy mail, right?
Yes, yes. And it sounds like the support that the yarn shops get from you helping is tremendous there.
Yeah. So it's a little bit crazy, but yeah, we had, I don't remember how many, 230 something, I think, shops last year. So
Yeah.
yeah. And I say we, I mean me. It's only me. And my cat, unless we count the cat, but she's not very helpful.
Yes, yes. No, not doing a lot of that reaching out and following up with folks and
No, not a lot of cold emails to yarn shops saying, hey, I'm doing this thing.
yes, I love that. We might have to have you back to talk more details about what you do with that if you want to, but you don't have to commit right now. Let's talk a little bit more. Well, okay, so I'm curious, like you do the local yarn shop day stuff. You mentioned a message to me before we got on that you also teach some stuff in person. Do you take those in-person events and those outside of the digital world events and bring those people into your community, or are they kind of kept separate?
So right now, the teaching that I have been doing, when I worked in the yarn shop, I taught there. I haven't done the big teaching at, events, fiber festivals or anything like that. I run a basically it's almost like a pattern support group, a pattern reading group. It's a local library group. And it's knitters and crocheters, and it's Monday afternoon at 12:30. And so they've been knitting, longer than my mom has been alive. And, they're retirees, they're, older. And it's a lot of, what does this leisure arts pattern mean? What are they trying to say? So it's a lot of that, but it's also a community. They refer to it as their therapy, their weekly therapy. But it gives me that, it grounds me, I think. It gives me that connection, because so much of what we see, posted on, the Instagram, where they, beautiful pictures of, the really complicated knitting, not everyone is there. So it gives me that ability to see more, to connect more with, I don't know, I don't want to call them real knitters, because we're all real knitters, whatever skill that we are, but we'll say the more typical or the more average knitter skill set, and it's, I do, invite them to my free group, but there's kind of rules about not selling things to them as a teacher. So libraries are kind of strict like that. But yeah, so I do, invite them to the free things that I have. And as long as I'm not pushing the things that I have for sale, if they happen to find something, then they do. But yeah.
Yes, I love that so much. And um, I think it's important to talk about how multifaceted design businesses are because there are so many different arms that make up the whole of what a small business is and does,
Mhm.
and all of the things
So
that
many hats.
offer. Yes, yes. Um, okay, so then you have a freebie, a sign up that folks can use. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that? The link will be in the description for the podcast.
Yes. So it is just 5 little quick tips about if you don't have a community. It's more geared for Facebook, but I think it really applies to wherever. Just things to keep in mind about creating a community and supporting, your audience. So it's just a little, thank you for watching and listening. And there may be, when life comes down, like a little mini, workshop about that. So if you grab the freebie, then you'll be on that segment of my list. I promise not to spam you with all my patterns and things, because I'm sure that you're knitting your own things. So I keep that separate. And if you join my other lists, you'll hear about the things. But if you're just on that list, then I will only reach out to you if I have something that I think would really be helpful and beneficial to you. as a designer.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So if you're interested in building your own community or kind of just what that looks like, go ahead and grab the freebie. If you want to see a summit in action and the community building even there in that Facebook group, join the summit for free. The link is down below. And then I'll also include your Facebook group, your free Facebook group link as well, so they can check that out. Is there anything else that you would like to share, whether it's promoting something or your favorite advice you've ever received or anything for other designers you'd like to share?
So I think I touched on this a little bit, but when I write patterns, so this is, I guess, pattern writing advice, having children who learn a little bit differently as a mom has shown me that you have to break things down into steps. And it's sometimes it's even if you think about like teaching a child how to tie their shoes. So there are some children that you can say, go put your shoe, we need to leave, go get your shoes on. And maybe as they get older, they can do that. But then there are others where you need to say, okay, go find your socks and go find your shoes. And now put your socks on and now put your shoes on and now open the shoelaces, put the shoe on and now make them tighter and tie it. You need to break it down step by step, because sometimes that go put your shoes on is an overwhelming task, and sometimes knit a lace shawl or do this in brioche is a complicated task for some knitters. And so I think it helps to kind of slow things down, break things down, separate out your text a little bit, I think, in the actual pattern as you write it. um Sections, I think I find help knitters a lot, instead of just, if the pattern's 100 rows, giving them just rows 1 through 100, but saying this is the hem and this is the body and this is the sleeves, or this is the cast on for the shawl and this is the body and this is the edging. It helps them keep their place where things are. Bolding certain things visually, I think, helps too. But I think even no matter what skill level the knitter might have, I think it's beneficial to every knitter.
Yes, I love that so much. And that's something that's really important to me in pattern writing as well. So I love that you bring that up because I don't know if I've ever really talked much about it. Even though I'm talking to designers all the
All the
time.
time, right?
But I tend to get messages from folks, especially other designers if they knit a pattern when they're like, you like my patterns are long, but they're like, you go so in depth into everything and like make it super clear. And my thing is because I'm primarily a self-taught knitter, and
Mhm.
I just remember all the frustration of the things that people assumed that knitters knew that I had no idea what they were talking about. Then I'd go on Google and there'd be 5 different answers, and I didn't know what was right or what actually applied to the pattern.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating. So yes, I love that. And, especially if you know your audience and who's going to be working your patterns, that helps a ton in knowing how to actually write your patterns.
It does, yeah. And I think, with the digital age and patterns mostly being PDFs, we have that ability to go long in the pattern and add that extra explanation, and not just say, the abbreviation for GSR and German short rows, and then make the knitter figure it out. You have that space, so what if it's another page in the PDF? Like it's better to support your knitter in their journey, I think, than to assume knowledge. I tell my audience that I'm never going to give you a pattern that says cast on 100, follow chart A and then chart B and then bind off. Like that's not enough information.
Yes, or continue in pattern until, a certain point, and then you don't know what to do if you're only partway through the repeat. If you've even figured out what continue in pattern means and where
Right.
the pattern starts, and where like
Yes, because
so
that's also usually abbreviated as like CONT in PATT. And
yes, yes.
so then they first have to figure out what does that even, what are those words?
Yes, yes, exactly. Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us. It's been a delight to chat. I can tell that we could talk knitting and designing all day.
Right.
So thank you so much for sharing about the summit, about your community, all of the things, I hope. for those of you listening that this is inspiring, that if you're thinking of building a community, this gives you some ideas, and definitely check out the freebie, and we hope to see you inside the Knit Happy Summit.
Yeah. It was so lovely to talk to you, Jessica.
Wow, thanks so much for listening to this episode. If you found it valuable, please share the podcast with a designer friend. And if you have a minute, leave a review. It's so helpful for me and means the world to me. Chat soon.